ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaste, my dear friends. This is video number 13 on the teachings of Lord Kapila. This video will start with chapter 10, Spiritual Attachment and Material Detachment. Text 18. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yuktena Chatmana Pripashyate Adishna Prakritim Cha Hatayujsam. In that position of self-realization, by practice of knowledge and renunciation in devotional service, one sees everything in the right perspective. He becomes indifferent to material existence, and the material influence acts less powerfully upon him. As the contamination of the germs of a particular disease can influence a weaker person, similarly the influence of material nature or illusory energy can act on the weaker or conditioned soul, but not on the liberated soul. Self-realization is the position of the liberated state. One understands his constitutional position by knowledge and vairagya, renunciation. Without knowledge, one cannot have realization. The realization that one is the infinitesimal part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit makes one unattached to material conditional life. That is the beginning of devotional service. Unless one is liberated from material contamination, one cannot engage in the devotional service of the Lord. In this verse, therefore, it is stated Jnana Vairagya Yuktena, when one is in full knowledge of one's constitutional position and is in the renounced order of life, detached from material attraction, then by pure devotional service, bhakti yuktena, he can engage himself as a loving servant of the Lord. Pripashyati means that he can see everything in its right perspective. Then the influence of material nature becomes almost nil. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Brahma Bhutaha Prasannam Atma. When one is self realized, he becomes happy and free from the influence of material nature, and at the time he is freed from lamentation and hankering. The Lord states that position as Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param, the real beginning of devotional service. Similarly, it is confirmed in the Narda Pancharatna that when the senses are purified, they can then be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. One who is attached to material contamination cannot be a devotee. In the conditional state, we are influenced by material nature. We have already discussed how we are conditioned by the three modes of material nature: ignorance, passion, and goodness. Goodness is superior to ignorance and passion because from the platform of goodness we can come to understand Krishna and thereby transcend the modes altogether. In this age, people are generally influenced by the lower modes, the modes of ignorance and passion. In these modes, we are not able to serve Krishna. It is our constitutional position to serve someone, but when we do not serve Krishna, we serve Maya. In any case, we cannot become master. Who can say that he is a master, that he is not serving anyone? We may serve our family, society, country, business, automobile, or whatever. If one cannot find anything to serve, he goes and buys a cat or dog and serves it. Why is this? It is because service is our nature. We are simply lacking the knowledge of where to direct the service. Service is meant to be rendered to Krishna. In the material world, we are serving our lusty desires, not Krishna, and we are deriving no pleasure from this. We are also serving in an office or in some employment in order to get some money. In this case, we are serving money, not the person. Thus, in the material world, we serve the senses and money. In any case, service is there. We must serve. Actually, the only master is Krishna. Ekale Iswara Krishna Ara Sabha Bhardaya. All the demigods, human beings, animals, trees, and everything else are servants. Self realization is realizing that one is the eternal servant of Krishna and that one's duty is to serve him. Self realization is not thinking, Aham Brahmasmi, I have become Brahma Bhagwan. How can we become Bhagwan? If we are Bhagwan, we are actually the supreme powerful one. If this is the case, why are we in a miserable condition? Why are we under the influence of Maya? Does Bhagwan come under the influence of Maya? No. Krishna says specifically in Bhagavad Gita that Prakriti, Maya is working under his directions. Maya is the maid servant of Krishna, and if we are the servants of Maya, how can we be Krishna, Bhagwan? When we come to our spiritual senses, we can understand that we are erroneously engaged in Maya's service and that our duty is to engage in Krishna's service. That is self realization. As stated here, Jnana Vairagya Yuktena, real understanding is knowing oneself to be the servant of Krishna, no one else. Because we are under illusion, we are serving Kama, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, lust and greed, without benefit and without pleasure. कामादीनां कति न कतिधा palita durnidesha. There is no limit to the unwanted orders of lusty desires. Bhakti rasmarta sindhu. Then we come to the understanding that our pleasure lies in serving Krishna only. We have attained Jnana Vairagya. Therefore, in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.7 it is stated वासुदेवे भगवती भक्ति योगः प्रयोजितः ज्ञानायति असुवैराग्यम ज्ञानम च यद अहेतुकम. By rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. If one engages in the service of Vasudeva Krishna, this knowledge comes and one becomes a Mahatma. A Mahatma is one who realizes that Krishna is everything. He does not defy Krishna or try to become Krishna. One who does so is not a Mahatma but a Duratma, a rascal. What is the position and knowledge of a Mahatma? Krishna states, Mahatma tu mam pratha devim prakirtim asritah bhajanti ananya manaso jnanatva bhutidam avyaktyam. O son of Partha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, stanza 13. A Mahatma cannot be manufactured. He is under the Devi Prakriti, the divine nature. There are two kinds of Prakriti, Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. Apara Prakriti is the material world and Devi Prakriti is the spiritual world. As soon as one understands that he is uselessly serving Maya in the material world in the form of society, friends, country, and so forth, one reaches the stage called Jnana knowledge. As soon as one attains this knowledge, he reaches the Brahma Bhuta stage. Brahma Brahman realization and he becomes Parshanatma happy. One may ask, why should I serve Krishna? We have already explained that being a part means serving the whole. The whole is Krishna and the individuals are meant for Krishna's satisfaction. Isvasham idam sarvam. There are many Iswaras, controllers, but the supreme Iswara is Krishna. As soon as one attains this realization, he has attained perfect knowledge and he renders service in bhakti yoga. Foolish people say that bhakti is meant for agyanis, unintelligent people, but this is not the case. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna indicates that after many births, the Jnani, the man in knowledge, surrenders unto him. As long as we do not understand Krishna, Vasudeva, we should understand that we are still fools. We may advertise ourselves as very great Gyanis, learned personalities, but we are actually fools. That is the Shastric conclusion. If we are actually Gyanis, we should surrender unto Krishna. There are many dharmas or activities, some are pious and some impious, but Krishna tells us to give up both. Arjuna was thinking that it was impious to fight with his relatives, but Krishna was insisting that he fight. How could Arjuna act impiously? He could not, because Krishna's service is transcendental to pious and impious activity. At midnight, when the gopis heard the sound of Krishna's flute, they ran to the forest to join him. According to the Shastras, it is immoral for young girls to go see a young boy in a forest in the dead of night. But this was not an impious activity because the gopis did this for Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was so strict that no woman could even come near him to offer respects, actually said, Ramya Kechid Upashana Varjavadhu Varjina Ya Kalpita. What could be more wonderful than that worship conceived by the gopis? Although it actually appeared immoral for the gopis to dance with Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu states that their relation with Krishna is the highest form of worship. This is actually transcendental knowledge. One becomes transcendental to all pious and impious activities when one serves Krishna. After all, piety and impiety are within the material modes. Krishna's service is transcendental to good and bad, pious and impious. Bhakti yoga begins when jnana and vairagya are complete. Jnana is knowledge and vairagya is detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Both of these are automatically attained when we engage in devotional service to Krishna. Text 19. Na yuja manya bhaktaya bhagavati akhilatmani sadrsho sati sivaha pantha yoginam brahma siddhaye. Perfection in self realization cannot be attained by any kind of yogi unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for that is the only auspicious path. Purport: that knowledge and renunciation are never perfect unless joined by devotional service is explicitly explained here. Na yuz mania means without being detailed. When there is devotional service, the question arises where to offer that service. Devotional service is to be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the super soul of everything, for that is the only reliable path of self realization or Brahma realization. This word Brahma Siddhaya means to understand oneself to be different from matter, to understand oneself to be Brahman. The Vedic words are Aham Brahmasami. Brahma Siddhi means that one should know that he is not matter, he is pure soul. There are different kinds of yogis, but every yogi is supposed to have attained self realization or Brahman realization. It is clearly stated here that unless one is fully engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot easily approach the path of Brahma Siddhi. In the beginning of the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that when one engages in the devotional service of Vasudeva, spiritual knowledge and renunciation of the material world are automatically manifest. Thus, a devotee does not have to strive separately for renunciation or knowledge. Devotional service itself is so powerful that by one's service everything is revealed. It is stated here, Sivaha Pantha. This is the only auspicious path for self realization. The path of devotional service is the most confidential means for attaining Brahma realization. That perfection in Brahma realization is attained through the auspicious path of devotional service indicates that the so called Brahma realization or realization of the Brahman Jyoti in effulgence is not Brahma Siddhi. Beyond that Brahma Jyoti, there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Upanishads, a devotee prays to the Lord to kindly put aside the effulgence Brahma Jyoti so that the devotee, devotee may see within the Brahma Jyoti the actual eternal form of the Lord. Unless one attains a realization of the transcendental form of the Lord, there is no question of bhakti. Bhakti necessitates the existence of the recipient of devotional service and the devotee who renders devotional service. Brahma Siddhi through devotional service is realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The understanding of the effulgent rays of the body of the Supreme Godhead is not the perfect stage of Brahma Siddhi or Brahma realization, nor is the realization of the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Person perfect because Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is Akhilatma. He is the Super Soul, one who realizes the Supreme Personality, realizes the other features, namely the Paramatma feature and the Brahman feature, and that total realization is Brahma Siddhi. As stated before, the word yoga means to connect. Brahma Siddhi means self realization, and Aham Brahmasmi means I am spirit soul. Actually, realizing oneself to be spirit is not sufficient. One has to progress further. One's fever may be cured, but one must also regain his strength and appetite in order to be totally cured. Then one can have a normal, healthy life free of disease. Similarly, simply realizing that one is spirit soul is not sufficient. One has to engage in spiritual activity, and that spiritual activity is bhakti. Mayavadi philosophers think that it is sufficient to stop all material activity, and the Buddhist philosophers advocate nirvana, cessation of material life. Neither give more information. Actually, we are suffering due to this material combination, and that is a fact. This body is composed of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. The Buddhists and Mayavadis advocate the annihilation of the components. They say, let the earth go to earth, let the water go to water, let the fire go to fire, and become zero. If we dismantle the house of the material body and become zero, we attain nirvana. Nirvana means the cessation of pleasure and pain. The Mayavadis and Buddhists claim that if we fill an empty pitcher, the water will make some sound as long as the pitcher is not completely filled. When the pitcher is filled, there will no longer be any sound. Thus, they claim that all the Vedic mantras and hymns stop when one is completely Brahma realized. In other words, the Buddhist and Mayavadis claim that the material world is false, mithya, and that we should somehow or other make it zero. However, simply realizing Brahman, realizing one's identity as spirit, soul, is insufficient. We must realize that Bhagwan is everywhere. Eko pai asau richantiyum jagat anda kotim yach chaktir asti jagat anda chaya yad antaha अंडांतारा स्था परमाणु कायंत्रा स्थम गोविंदम आदि पुरुषम तम अहम भजमी. I worship the personality of Godhead, Govinda, who by one of his plenary portions enters the existence of every universe and every atomic particle, and thus unlimitedly manifests his infinite energy all over the material creation. Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, stanza 35. Sri Bhagavan is not alone. He is not only localized but is everywhere. Although Krishna has a particular place, he is everywhere. It is not that because Krishna is in one place, he cannot be in others. Since we are conditioned when we sit in our office, we cannot be at home. Krishna is not like this. Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhutaha. Krishna is always in Goloka Vrindavana, yet he is andatra satha paramatmanu chaitanyatra stham. He is within every atom of this universe. This universe is existing due to Garbhadoksai Vishnu. There is not only one universe, but there are many millions, and they are all working very nicely because the Garbhodaksai Vishnu is present. We should not think that all these planets are floating in space without any arrangement having been made. There is definitely an arrangement. In order to be completely free of the material modes, one has to come not only to the platform of jnana and vairagya but to bhakti also. When we mention bhakti, some people say, I render bhakti to my wife. I love her very much and take care of her. If I do not see her, I become mad. Thus, people have bhakti for their family, country, goddess Durga, other demigods, and so on. However, that kind of bhakti will not do. Therefore, it is said, Bhaktir Bhagavati. Bhakti must be rendered unto the Supreme. It is not that one should render bhakti unto an imitation Bhagavan. If we say that he is Bhagwan, we should ask, are you present in everyone's heart? Can you tell me what I am thinking now? If one is Bhagwan, he must be Akhilatma. If one is Iswara, he must be present in everyone's heart. Krishna is present in everyone's heart. Sarvasya chaham hriday sannivistah. All this should be scrutinizingly studied. It is not that one should accept this rascal or that rascal as Bhagwan, nor should one render bhakti to this demigod or that demigod to one's family, country, society, wife, cat, dog, or whatever. All this is not really bhakti but imitation bhakti. It is actually lustful desire. If we can develop bhakti for Krishna, Krishna consciousness, our lives will be successful. Actually, there is no alternative. As stated in this verse, Sadro Sadarsosti Shivaha Pantha. Prabharamahan Raman is Krishna, and Brahma Siddhaya means understanding our relationship with Krishna. It is alright for one to understand oneself as Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. But what is our relationship with the Parbrahman? There are always two, Brahma and Parbrahman, Atma and Paramatma, Iswara and Parameshwara, the individual living being and the supreme living being, Nitya and Nityanam. Chetanas and Chetananam. There are always two present and two means a relationship. We should therefore understand our relationship with the Supreme, with Parbrahman. Understanding that relationship is Brahma Siddhaye. We are qualitatively one with Prabrahman, but Prabrahman is very great, whereas we are very small. Prabrahman is one Kevalya. There is no alternative and no duplicate. There is no one equal to him or greater than him. That is the meaning of Kevalya. Human life is meant for inquiring about Parabrahman and one's relationship with him. Unfortunately, people are not asking questions about Parabrahman. Everyone is asking about the news and the morning paper, and everyone is concerned with going to the market and purchasing so many goods for cheaper prices. All this is going on in human society and in cat and dog society also. This world is full of darkness and ignorance, but Krishna consciousness is transcendental to this material world. In Krishna consciousness, there is no darkness but simply light. If we try to find things at night, it becomes very difficult. However, in the daytime there is no difficulty. The Shastras enjoin that we leave this darkness and come to light. This light is given by the Guru. M. Ajnana Timirradhansaya Jnananjana Salakyaj Chakshur Anmilitam Jena Tasmati Sri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. It is the Guru's business to give light by knowledge. The Guru has completely assimilated the Vedic essence of life. Shruti, knowledge is received by hearing. It is not experimental. We cannot understand that which is beyond our sense perception by experiment. We cannot understand who our Father is by experimental knowledge. One cannot say, let me find out who my Father is by experiment. Our Father was existing before we were existing, and it is not possible to understand by experimental knowledge that this or that man is my father. The real authority is the mother. Therefore, Vedic knowledge has been likened to the mother and the Puranas to the sisters. We should understand from the Vedas what ultimate knowledge really is. The ultimate knowledge objective is Krishna, and simply by understanding Krishna, we can understand everything. We do not have to understand things separately. Krishna is within our hearts. He is not far away. Rather, He is everywhere. If Krishna sees that we are attached to Him, He becomes our friend. He is a friend to everyone, but He is especially a friend to His devotees. As Krishna Himself says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, stanza 11. Tesam evanukam partham ahem ajyanjam tamaha नास्यामि आत्मा भवा स्थो ज्ञाना दीपेना भवस्वता out of out of compassion for them I, dwelling in their hearts, destroyed with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Jnana is therefore, it is simply covered with the curtain of ignorance. Light is there and darkness is there, but when we are in darkness, we cannot see things as they are. Krishna says that as one devotes himself to rendering service, he himself dispels the darkness of ignorance. If we actually want to become perfect in this life, we only need to engage in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagwan. It is not that Bhagwan is difficult to find. Bhagwan is within the heart. Ishvaraha sarva bhutanam hridaya dese Arjuna tisthati. That is the real Bhagwan within the hearts of all. That Bhagwan is always active. He instructed within the hearts of all. That Bhagwan is always active. He instructed Brahma, the Lord of the universe, and Brahma, having received Krishna's instructions, created the entire universe. Krishna will also give instructions to us if we simply take to devotional service. At this stage, I complete this video. Next video number 14 We'll start with text 20. Thank you for watching this video. Namaskar, my dear friends. Namaste.